Now let's start working with our Sling model. Sling model is basically the Java class that we can call from our Sitely. So here inside the Sitely, now if you wanted to call your backend Java file, so for from Sitely you can call Sling model. That is basically Java file that you will call from Sitely and where you can write the further business logic. Okay. So you can also see from here if you want to call a simple Java class, that is a simple Java class whose object will be initiated, that also you can do. But what is the purpose of using this Sling model is that it's a POJO. So all the value that you have inside the dialog will automatically get injected inside that POJO. So you do not have to like explicitly write code to read the values that you input inside the dialog and then perform the business logic. But instead of that, all the values from the dialog will get automatically read inside the Sling model because that's a POJO, and then further you can of course write the business logic. Okay, like now we have this property whose name exactly is the first name. So I started with that, like this one was there. So I created, as of now, I just created this sample model, okay? So first thing to make a Java class a Sling model, you have to use @model adaptables is equal to the source.class. Why did we use that is because, see, this is my page that has been created. Now, what I'm saying is that over this page, my current resource would be within this page, which is my sample, the sample word is my current resource. Okay. So this resource, the values for this resource are over here. So what we need is that these values should get automatically mapped or injected inside this Sling model. So that is why to map all these value with all this property with these values, what we did is we said @model to make it an Sling model, and then we said adaptables is equal to resource.class. So resource.class here it's saying that the current resource, that is this resource, should automatically get adapted or injected into this Sling model. Okay. Now this is a simple Java class, but the time we use this @model, it becomes a Sling model, and then I said adaptable is equal to the source.class, so that the current object, that is this current node, or you can say current resource, should get adapted into this sample model. Now, okay, let me write private string. Okay, what was the property? It was first name. Okay, now this is the property and this is the property. Now, if you want that this value should get automatically injected over here, what you have to do is, it's a simple annotation, that is inject. Okay, if you use the simple annotation, that is inject, and you need to make sure that the name variable that you're using should match exactly with the name over here, the name of the property on this resource. So this is my resource and these are the properties. Now, if you want to inject all these properties into the Sling model, of course, you have to use the same name over here and the annotation inject. Okay, in the same way, if you want to inject last name, then let me say, again, I will do the same. Okay, and I will say @, and this is last name. Okay, now one thing here, I said this name should exactly match the property over here. But sometimes, in case if you want to keep some other name, like instead of last name, you only want L name. Okay, maybe some conventions is what you are using. So if you want to automatically map this L name with this, so that the value of this L name should get automatically injected, there is another annotation, that is @named annotation. Yes, @named, and here we can tell which name it should map to. So current resource is this resource, and which property this should get mapped to is this last name. If this @named is not there, then by default the name of the variable will be considered. If @named property, this annotation is provided, then this will take preference. So it will try to match from here. So this will get matched from here, and this name, this value Ram will get automatically injected over here. In the same way, if you want to inject other properties like color, like hobbies, okay? So what I will do is private string and the name hobbies, HOBBIES, okay? And I will use @inject, okay?
Yeah.
So, okay, I will deploy this code and will show it to you. And what I will do is, firstly, I will generate the getters and setters. It's okay even if I generate the getters, because why do I need to generate the getters? See, setters doesn't make any difference. You can remove these setters. I do not need this. I just accidentally created like both getter and setter. I just need getter. Why do I need getter is because see, all our variables that I declared are private. Okay. Now, if you need to use or you need to get the values of this inside your Sitely, when you will call this sample model from inside Sitely and you need to use or get the values of this first name or L name, of course, since these are private variable, you cannot get it directly. But for that, then you have, that is why I created this getters method, so that by using this getter method is what is through which you can call your, like, get the values over here and call the sample model. Now, firstly, to call the sample model, what we have to do is we have to use the attribute, that is data slide use. Always remember, see, this use data slide use is being used for two purposes only. One is to call your Sling model and the other one is to call the template. So here to call the template also, so basically what we use is to initiate the object of this template. In the same way, here also, here we were initiating the object of this HTML template, but here we will initiate the object of our Sling model. So the Sling model that we have created. So every time you will use the data slide u, a new object of that class or that thing will get created. So here if I use a sample model, like here, just a minute. Okay, so sample model, and now here, what I will do is I will copy this whole package name over here and then the class name, that is sample model. Okay, so that's what I wrote over here, and I will end this, and all the code will sit below over here. Okay. So what I said is, again, data slide I use to initiate the sample model, that is my Java class or the Sling model, and I receive the object of this inside this instance variable. So this is the instance variable where the object of this will be created. And always remember, every time you will use the data slide a new object of this class will get created. Okay.
And the name of the object can be anything, right?
These are instance variable. It can be any name. Like if you want to use my model, my model. Okay. It's just instance variable.
And then with that we can access the functions like get method.
Exactly. All the getter setters that we created. So here let me write getting values. Okay, sorry. Values from Sling model. Okay, and let me put a BR, and then to get the values, what I will do is now this is my instance variable, and to call the getter, now you can directly call the getter through this. Like you do not need the complete name, but just this name after get, and also it should follow the camel casing. So F would be small, and you do not need get. Like here to call this method, basically the get won't be used. It's basically the instance variable name only, like this name only will be used. And F will be small because we follow camel casing. So here in this way it will be called. Similarly, to get the last name again, so first last name. Okay, and for this we would say this is my L name, and L will be small because L doesn't need to be there. Okay, so this way I created the object of this Sling model and then received the object inside this, and from here I am calling these two methods that is there inside this. And basically it is returning what value will be inputted inside the dialog, and those value will be automatically getting injected. So this is the beauty of Sling model. So all the values or all the properties from the current resource, that is my this resource, always remember the resource is the actual inside the content. So whatever the properties you have over here will get automatically injected inside the Sling model.
Yeah.
Okay, before deploying this code, I wanted to let me tell you one more thing. See, when we set @inject, then Sling model will expect that this property should always be there inside your resource. It should always be there. In case if it won't be there, then it will throw an issue. So by default, if you try to inject any property, then it should be there in the current resource. If it's not there, then it will throw an exception. So to make it an optional, to say or to inform Sling model that, okay, don't worry, if the property is not there, then also it's okay. Then for that, you have to use another annotation that is optional. So by using this optional, what we said is, in case if this property is not mandatory, and if this property is not there inside the current resource, don't worry, nothing will break, because I said it's optional. Even if it's found in the current resource, then also it's okay. Then it will get injected. If it's not, then also it's okay. Don't worry, there won't be an exception. Okay.
Yeah.
So you can use this optional on all, like over here as well, and like on all. But the problem is that if you keep on putting this on all, then consider if there are 50 properties, then you have to place all 50 properties. So there is a shortcut for this, that you can provide this at inside the @model annotation by using default injection strategy. And I said it's optional. Default injection strategy. Okay. Like that. Default injection strategy. Let me just get it from, I think I would have it over here. I wrote it previously. Yeah, default injection strategy. Yeah. So this way, if you say that the default injection strategy and it's optional, and you made it at class level, then at individual field level, you do not need this. Okay. So by this way, it means that all the properties will become optional, and it doesn't matter if the value or if this property is there inside the current resource. Even if it's not there, then also it's not an issue, because it is an optional property. Okay. Let me deploy this code, and before deploying this code, another important thing that I want to tell you is that the sample project that we were developing, you can see it's there in my code base now. But we were actually creating this whole project inside my CRXD. So before starting this session, what I did is I created the package of this. So if you would see over here, what I did is I created the package of this app sample content components sample word, and then I created the project, and then I downloaded it, and then by unzipping it, I installed this inside my
repository.
code base. Yeah. So see, one way of course is that you can create the package of any of the thing, and you can get it that zip on your local hard disk, and then like unzip it and then copy paste it in your code base. But that is, yes, of course, that's a core solution. That is also acceptable solution. But yeah, there are a lot of plugins also. Like if you're using Eclipse, then Eclipse would have a like Eclipse should have provided a plugin which would enable you to directly connect your hard drive or your drive to AEM server, so that automatically whenever you want, the sync can be done and the changes from AEM can be taken to local hard drive and vice versa. Okay.
Okay. How about IntelliJ? Does it have anything?
Yes, IntelliJ also have the plugin. So there are a lot of plugins, but I cannot install it over here because this is not an licensed version of IntelliJ. I'm using an unlicensed version, so that is why I cannot install the plugins. But yeah, you can go over here and like you can install the plugins that you wanted. Like,
Marketplace, right?
Yeah, exactly. There are a lot of plugins that you can, I think, over here help. Yeah, tip of the day, contact support, submit feedback. I think there may be some place where you can install plugins. Here you can, like, let me search.
I think it's in this one. You need to open the settings, I think. And then inside settings, there is a plugin.
Yeah. So yeah, from marketplace you can install it, but the only thing is that for many you need license. Like here,
what is it called actually? Oh, okay.
Yeah, like here you have I have already installed it, but yeah, I think it started asking me for yeah yeah. So, yeah, you can see the 30 days trial or buy the plugin.
One question. So when we create the model class, and then we start like injecting the data from like AEM to the Sling model, can we tell that we are building like a bean thing?
We are building
like a bean. I mean, this whole class, I think. I mean, can we call it bean?
Yeah, you can call it a bean. That is also an okay name. Means mainly it's a pojo. You can call it a bean or whatever. Like it's, but yeah.
Yeah, because I remember like I used to use like a Spring framework, so there also we had something like this, right? But the difference was from like SQL or Postgres, like. But here it's like from CRX, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, got it. But just one thing, right now, I mean, because when I joined the company, I was like following the other guy's code, and then he's like using different. Yeah, like we have also the model class, but then inside the model we actually like write the whole logic, and then he's also using like the annotation model and adapters, but he's using inside the logic class.
No, but you need to anyhow make the use of annotation. See, service logic you can write inside method, but to inject the values you have to use the @ inject. I will tell you there is another way also you can inject the values, but yeah, you need to use annotations only to inject the values. And further, you can write methods to perform business logic.
Okay. Okay. Maybe I will show you later, like how.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
That will help me. That will help in better understanding. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
okay.
I'll
So
show you end of the class.
yeah, let me install this. So the simple Maven clean install -p auto install package. Again, it will take some time, but yes. Okay, so why did I got this on my local is because now if I will deploy the code and if I do not have this component on my local, then it will uninstall or it will delete that sample word component from CRXD.
Yeah.
So everything that you are doing in CRXD, take the backup of that in your code base if you're doing it directly inside CRXD.
Mm-hmm.
One more thing, like the business logic you said about business logic. So I will go on that topic, but just to give a brief before starting that topic, a business logic are exactly not written inside Sling model. So Sling models, what we do is see it acts as a layer of abstraction between your front end, that is your Sightly, and your Sling services where you write your business logic. So it acts as a layer of abstraction. So what we do is from Sightly, we call our Sling model, which will receive the inputs through injection. It will receive all the inputs and further it will call Sling services, which will actually do the business logic. So that should be the flow. That should be the pattern in which you should code or work. Because business logic, like if there is a small business logic, then it's okay. You can write it inside the Sling model or in this sample model only. But if it's a complex business logic, like if you need to make an HTTP API call or something like that, or some complex business logic you're performing, then of course from here you should call a Sling service, and Sling service should do the rest. So we will start with the Sling service after this. Once this get deployed and we will see if all our changes are okay, then we will start with the Sling services, and we will discuss what exactly is the purpose of writing a separate Sling services and why cannot we write everything, all the business logic inside the Sling model only. So we will discuss that. Okay, so yes, so it's a bit fast. That's good. So our code has been deployed. That's good. And let me just close this and refresh this. So our code should have been updated by now. Okay, where is my component? It should be inside apps. Sample word. I'm just refreshing my page. Okay, yes. So here we can see the values are very well coming up. So if I go and put some more like BR over here again. Okay, and let me just, I think it's still getting deployed. Yeah. Okay. Let me just refresh this back again. Yeah. So here, if I put some BR over here, and let me remove this code for now because this is what I'm directly reading. Just I am doing a control X, okay?
So now we are sure that it's getting from the Sling model.
Yeah, exactly. So here the values are coming from the Sling. So this way, this is the purpose of creating a Sling model. So Sling model is basically, you can call it a bean, or mainly it's basically a POJO, through which you can directly inject your values, and all those values would be directly available inside your Sling model, and you can further work upon or read those values and perform your business logic. Okay.
We can do the same thing as well for the components, right? You sent me some links. I was reading it the other day.
Which
like we can somehow like feed the data from Sling model to the component itself. Like, I mean, like any field in the inside the component.
You mean through data source?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you can do that. You can do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can do that. Of course, you can do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Yes. Like it doesn't matter. Like if you're calling a data from data source, you're calling your backend file. Basically, in the backend, I think it creates the data source map, and within that, the values get populated. So if you do it with the help of a servlet or a Sling model, it doesn't make any difference. But yes, with Sling model also you can do this.
Okay.
Okay. So we discussed about few of the this annotation, but yes, there are more annotations that we will keep on discussing. Okay. Now, firstly, let me start with the discussion on Sling service, and parallelly we will discuss more on the annotations that we have provided inside our this Sling models. So as I just said that from your Sightly, that was our this sample model, you can only call your Sling model. So it's not that you cannot call services, but you can do that, but that's not a good practice. So that's not the best way of writing code. So from Sightly, you should call your Sling model, which will act as a layer of abstraction between your Sightly and your Sling services. Okay. And inside the Sling services is where you will write all your code, all your business logic. So here, let me just create a new folder, package with the name service. Okay, and let me create a new file. So let me create a new Java file, not simple file, and let me name it as sample service. Okay. Now, these surveys are not simple class. So here also you have to use a particular annotation, that is component. Okay. So when we use this component annotation, what it will do is it will make this Java class a service. And within this annotation, you have to write service is equal to the name of the service. Like this is the name of the service. Okay. Name of the service dot class. By just using this annotation, this class will become a service. Now the question that will arise in your mind, what is the purpose, or what exactly does this Sling service do, and why do we write all our business logic over here? Okay, now from here inside the sample word, when we use this data slide use, I told you every time a new object of this file will be created. So every time whenever the page will get refreshed and it will have this sample word component, this HTML will be called, and within this HTML, this object will get initiated. So if you are refreshing your page 100 times, so 100 objects will get created. But with Sling model, it's not the same. So Sling model, it works like a singleton pattern that we have in Java. So if you know about singleton pattern in Java, then you would be able to easily understand what this service will do. In case if you don't, then don't worry, I will tell you. So it will behave like a singleton pattern. It means that it's not that every time you will call this service or any method of this service, a new object of this service will get created. It's not like that. So only single object of this server of this service will get created, and that object will be created the first time, either the first time when the service will get called or during the startup of your server. So we can decide upon that when the object will be created, and every time you will be calling or referring this service, the same object will be used, and it's not that a new object will be created again and again. So the same object will be referred to. Just we use @ component that's made this class as service, and now you can write any method, like let me create a public string, okay, get full name, okay, and here return. Okay, I'm expecting it some ftm and l name, okay, and here I'm saying hi plus f name plus, let's give some space between first and last name and l name. Now I have created this service by using this annotation, and I have this public method. Now if you want to call this method from inside the Sling model, what you have to do is, firstly you have to use private, what's the name of the service? It's sample service, okay, and I created the instance over here. Now to call this service, either you can use @inject, or the best is to use @osgi service annotation. So to call a Sling service from inside a Sling model, you have to use @osgi service. Now, what this will do is it will try to find an already created object of this service, and if it's found, then it's okay. Otherwise, it will create a newer one. So, as I said, that the instance of the service will be created the first time when the service will get called, and in our case, the service is getting called over here. So here, whenever I will start referring to my service, the instance of this service will get created. Okay. So either at the startup, as I told, either at the startup, the object will get created, or otherwise, like in our current case, where the object of this will get created when we will refer it for the first time. If you want that the object should not be created like the time when we start referring it, but should be created at the startup, then you would have to provide an this attribute that is immediate true, and you can see by default its value is false. So immediate true, it says that the instance of the service will get created when the server will be started. That time only the instance of the service will get created. And it doesn't matter now how many times you will refer the service. Like here we are referring, not creating the object. Of course, we cannot create the object of a service. It can only be referred. So what it does is, it will create the object and will store the object inside a service registry. When we start referring to this service, it will try to find that object of the service from inside service registry and will get it from there. In case if it's not there, and that would be the case when we haven't used immediate true. So in that case, it will create a new object and will store that object inside service registry. So the next time any other service will start referring it, it will automatically get the object of the service from inside service registry. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Now, if you have to get, call this, let me use like public string get get name. Okay, let me use simple get name. And here to call this, I use the instance variable and get full name. So here I use this, and here I will pass my both of these instance variables and will return it over here. And now you can call it from your over here, your sightly, firstly, okay. And this is full name. And over here, what is the method name? Our method name is get name, or let me use it as get complete name. Okay. Now to call this method, what we will use is just copy this part inside there and use the camel casing. So C will be small. So what I did over here from inside Sling model, I call this method get complete name, which will call over here. And over here, this instance variable, which is of course not initialized because we cannot initialize the object of Sling services. We called the method of the service by using the method name and pass the variable over here. And inside this service, since this immediate true is set, so the object of this service will be created during the startup of your server, and the object so created will be stored inside service registry. And now the next time any Sling model or any other service will refer to this service, it will get the object of this service from inside the service registry. Okay. Many times being asked in the interviews, like, why do you use Sling services? What is the purpose of it? And why cannot you write the logic inside the simple Java class or inside Sling model only? So all the business logic, like consider if you want to connect to some third party or write some complex business logic, all that has to be written inside your Sling services, because it's not, because the object of that class should not be created every time, only single time. And using that object, you can call the utility methods.
But if you go to the HTML file, we still we still need to create an instance of that model class, right?
Yes, so model class instance will be created. So whenever you will use data slide use, the instance of the model class will be created. So instance of this will get created. But here, when you will refer this by using OSI service, here the instance of this service will not be created. Okay. Because the instance of service has already been created during the startup because we used immediate true.
I mean, but still we need to create, because you said that we don't for the to avoid creating instance of model class every time in the HTML file. So we create like service layer, right?
See, from Sightly, that is HTML, you should only call your Sling model. So whenever you will call your Sling model, of course, the object will be created. But from inside your Sling model, you should call your service. And for service, the object will only be created only once, and that object will be used all the time.
Okay, so we somehow give this responsibility of the this object creation and all the things that it's related to object, we give it to the service layer, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So like wherever you find that okay, any complex business logic, or you want to connect to some third party, you want to make an HTTP request, or you want to connect to some database, like the utility classes that we create inside Java, basically that is achieved using services over here.
Mhm.
And to create service, basically it's @component annotation and service, and then you have to use service is equal to name of that service.
And then
Okay.
we always use this service inside the model, right?
You can even, there were scenarios where you have to call a service from inside another service. See, service, you write utility classes, utility methods. Now those methods could have been used inside some other service as well.
Mhm.
Here I have created the sample service. I could have created new sample service, and to refer or to call this sample service from inside that new sample service, or vice versa, you can do that. So from inside a service, you can call another service, but it's only the way in which you call that differs. Like here we used @OSJ service annotation, but in case if you want to call, or first not call, basically you want to refer a service from inside another service, then you have to use @reference annotation that we will discuss later, but it's the annotation name is different. But yes, it's not that a service can only be called from inside Sling model, but yes, a service can also be called from inside a servlet, or inside another service. From any other place you can call it.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Sorry, can we tell this one like IOC, like you know of that like inversion of control in Java in Spring?
I am. You can say that, but I am not that much into Spring. I cannot exactly correlate over
Yeah.
here, but yes, I like somewhere, yes, you are right, but I cannot exactly correlate.
Okay. Got it.
Okay, so I have started the deployment and it will be completed, maybe. Okay, there are few more things that I wanted to tell you in service, few more annotations mainly. Okay, sorry. Okay, so like you created this method, also like you can create another method. Like let's create another method with the name init. Okay, simple, and let's say I do not do anything, and inside init method. Okay. Now I just simply created this method, nothing else I'm doing. Now this Sling service provides some annotations like @activate, activate. Okay, and similarly, okay, what this activate annotation will do, that the time, what's one related problem? Get full name. One related problem. What is it? Okay, let's ignore this one. Okay, so what's with this is when you use @activate annotation with any method, what will happen is the time the instance of this service will get created, that method will get called, who is annotated with @activate annotation. Okay, so basically, if during initialization of your service, if you want to perform, or if you want to write some logic, consider, okay, let me give you help you with an example. Like let's consider that you want to connect to some database. Okay, now the connection to the database you wanted to be created during the startup of your server, so that the connection is created once, and then that connection can be used at all the times. So what you will do is, you will create a service with SQL connection service, And within that, you will write this init method or any method, like method name can be any different, but it will be annotated with @activate. And within that, you will write the logic to achieve or to create the connection to the SQL or MySQL database. So during startup of server only, you have been able to create or to like you have been able to achieve or get the connection to the database. So now the benefit of this is that the time any call or this like the time uh, during runtime, the connection does not has to be created because it has already been created at the startup. So the connection does not need to be created when the user will make a request. So of course it will bring performance improvement to your site. So any code that you want to write or you want to get executed at the startup, that you can write inside @activate method. Okay.
Okay.
Also, with the same example, like you have created the connection, but now you are stopping your server and you want that the connection should also get destroyed during the stopping, then you have another annotation that is deactivate. And in it, any method name that is I inside. Okay. So when you will use this @deactivate annotation, so it will be called when your service, this object will be destroyed. And when it will be like, when the object of this will be destroyed, of course, when your AEM will be shut down. So in case if your AEM is getting shut down, of course, it will also automatically close all the open objects or all the open connections. So the object of the sample service which are created at the time of startup, it will also get destroyed when the AEM is getting shut down. And during that time, if you want to close any of your open resources, that you can close over here inside this method. Any connection or anything like any buffer or anything, buffer reader or anything you wanted to create at the startup of your server, basically what you can do is you can write a service, and within that you can write the activate method, and then you can within that activate method you can write the logic for that, because the service object will be created at the startup of the server. If you have used immediate true, remember immediate true is you will use if you want the object of your service to be created at the time of startup. And if you want to execute a method which should get executed during startup of your server, or basically during the when the object of your service will be created, use @activate annotation.
Okay. One more question, like so in a slide in the HTML file, slightly, I mean, so it's preferable that we use the service method, right?
No, we
Instead
call
of
the Sling model. Here we call the Sling model. We didn't. We cannot call service from inside Sling model. From Sitely, sorry.
okay, but this one was the method of the service, right?
No. This is a method of your Sling model. So see, my method is my model is an instance of your Sling model. Here I am calling the complete name. So if I go inside the sample model, here is the get complete name. So I am calling the method of Sling model. From Sling model, I am calling the service.
Okay.
I am not calling the service directly.
Service. So one more thing, like, can we do like, for example, in the service layer, instead of like writing the method inside the model, I mean, create the object of the service class inside the model, can we do it like reverse? Like when we are in the service, we create object of the model, and then
No.
we cannot, right?
What would be the purpose? What would be the scenario? See, Sling models only works with components. So there would not be any scenario where you have to call a service, where you have to call a Sling model from inside a service. Why would you call that thing? Why would you need that thing? Because Sling models are only used for components, from components perspective, so that the value should get automatically injected inside Sling model. Why would you need to call a Sling model from inside a service? Okay, there is no need of that, and also it's not even possible.
Okay.
Okay.
Got it.
Yeah. So basically, Sling model, any simple business logic you can write, but not complex. And also, it acts as a layer of abstraction between your front end and your business logic, like this. So this Sling model acts as a layer of abstraction because the request will come from Sitely, that is our front end. The request will come over here, and then it will communicate the request to your service.
To the service. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah.
Got it.
So remember, we use @ component. Service is equal to the name of the service. Also, sometime it is being said, or it is called as a best practice, but I don't consider it as a best practice. It is being said that you create this class and have an interface for this, and let that interface communicate with your Sling model.
Okay. And then we have like something like service implementation, right?
Yeah, so here we will implement that interface. So we will create a service, sample service interface, or we can name it as sample service IMPL, implements that interface, whatever, like maybe sample service interface. And that Sling model will actually over here, instead of directly calling the actual service, but it will call, or it will refer the
interface only.
Interface. That's a good practice, or that's a way of better coding, but like here we are directly calling it, here we are doing it, that will work. And 90% of the companies or like developers use this way, but sometimes you tend to, I will also tell you the reason why this interface is used. Okay, but as a best practice, it is considered that you create an interface and the service and the implementation class, and refer your inside the Sling model, refer that interface and not the implementation. Now I tell you the reason why that best practice are introduced. Okay. See.
Okay, sorry, you go.
No, you please ask if you have any question.
Okay, can you tell me like one example of using the init and the destroy method? Like what kind of things what kind of functions or like logics we use for like in the init functions mostly?
So as I told you, like consider if you have to create a connection to some third party or to your database. So anything that you want to be done at the time of startup of your server, any objects that you have to create, any resource that you have to like create,
or something.
So all those things, and all the open resource, of course, you should get it closed. So inside the deactivate method, you can close all the open resources.
Okay. Right.
Now, the reason behind having an interface is, consider if you have multiple repositories in your code base, like one is common repositories and there is one your project-based repository. Now, in these scenarios where you have multiple repositories, in these sort of scenarios, this interface things will come into action, where the implementation class will sit inside the common, like the common repository, and the interface is what you will create inside the project-related repository. So in project-related repository, you will create all your components, and that component can call your service by using that interface. Got the reason? Should I tell you again?
No, I got it. Yeah.
You got it?
Yep.
Okay. That's great. So that is the main reason why we make the use of this.
like in the interface, mostly we put all the functions without the implementation.
Without the implementation. So we
And then,
define.
yeah, like I remember like I used to read about this one, the spring thing. Then they were telling that, okay, this is like good for the, the readability of the code, and then like abstraction and like hiding the implementation and those things, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah. Okay. So we use this get full name. Let's see if it's working well. Let me just refresh this screen over here. And I think the BRs, the new line characters, I think I can place it back over here, and over here. And let me just do a control X over here. So then this complete name is what I'm calling the Sling model. From Sling model, the service will get called, and let's see if it is working fine or not. And this text, yeah, you can see, hi Rajaram. So this hi Rajaram is what is coming from, sorry, not the, yeah, so over here. So hi, hi, and the first name and the last.
Yeah.
Okay. I will also show you this activate method, how those are getting printed. Like I will show it to you when we will discuss the logging logger, because I will print these things inside the log files.
Okay.
Okay. Any questions, any doubts till now?
So far it's okay. Just one more question. So this, can we call it like the service layer? It's like a controller, right? Like manipulation of the data. Is it?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Got it. Yeah.
So. Okay. Let's start with our. Let's start and let's see if we can complete that today with the concept of run modes. Okay. Do you have an idea about run modes?
Run modes? No. No, actually.
Okay, that's good. If you have not, then you can, like, you will get it from now. You will get it now. So consider a scenario that will help you next, like knowing the reason. You have your lower environment, like dev environment, then you have QA, then you have a UAT server, and then you have prod server. Now, how, like, okay, now you want to know, you want to execute a code only on lower environment and not on production. Or consider that there is an endpoint that you wanted to connect to, which has some credentials as well to connect to. Now that credentials differs from prod to your lower environment. Okay, of course that would be the case. Now, how in your code would you identify that is this a prod environment or is this some QA or UAT environment? So how would you identify that? So to overcome or to provide the solution for this, Adobe or AEM, what they does is you introduce the concept of run mode. So by run modes, what they did is they give a unique name, or not a unique name, but yes, they give a name to your servers. So like even you can give the names to your author, a different name to your author and a publisher server. So basically, whenever you start a server, you can give the name, or basically that name is the run mode. You can give that name or that run mode to your server. That will help you to uniquely identify that server. So basically, any name you can give, like I can give my name, or I can give your name, or anyone's name, or sample as a name, or any name is what we can give to the server at the time of startup, and that name will help it in uniquely identifying. So like if we have our QA or if we have our lower environment, that is QA and prod, then one name that we can give to our environment which is our prod environment, is production. And the lower environment, we can give it a name as QA or lower. And then while running the code base, we can get to know from some out-of-box API whether like the name that we gave to that environment. And by using that name, we can execute those different sets of code. You got the understanding what is the purpose of run mode?
Yeah, somehow. Yeah, you mean like in the log file we can track, like, for example, if someone like access the API.
No, that is totally different. What I'm saying is, see, again I'm saying, like again rephrasing all that. So see, consider you have an endpoint. As an example, there is an endpoint and there are some credentials that are being used to connect to that endpoint. Now, these URL, this endpoint and the credentials differ from prod to lower environment. Okay, so the prod has a different credentials and the lower has some different credentials to connect to the third part. Now, how in your code base, see the code base will be same. See here, consider inside your sample service or inside this sample service or inside this sample model, you have to know, actually which credential should I use, because here we cannot know whether the code is running on production server or whether the code is running on lower server, because the code is all same. So how the code will get to know whether you are running on a production server or whether you are running on a lower server? So basically, to overcome this, what solution AEM gave is that we can give unique names or we can give names to our servers. So by using those naming convention, we can execute different set of codes on different server. So on our author server, basically even on author and publisher also, we can execute different set of code by using those different names that we assign to the server at this time of startup.
Okay.
Okay, let me just show it to you. Maybe it's still not clear. Is it still not clear?
Somehow I understood. Yeah, maybe if you, yeah, sure. It's
let me show you the startup.bat. So here, if you see, I used -d Sling run mode. Okay, so this is what I started my author instance. Okay,
yeah.
So I started my author instance and I gave it a name. So basically, name, I'm saying here name, but basically it is run mode. Okay. I gave it a name to this author instance, and the name I gave is prod and prachi. So like you have, like I have a name and I have few more names, like my nicknames or my, like how my parents call me by my nickname. So yeah, those are like my alias. So similarly, these are the alias, or these are the names that are being assigned to a server, to as of now on our author instance. We assign these two names to our server. Okay, so here what I did is I assigned a name as prod and the other name I assigned is as prachi. So here my author instance basically has two names. Basically, there are more names as well that I will tell you later. But yes, two new names that have been assigned. That is, one is prod and the other is prachi. Okay. Now, in your code, if you want, see the code is same. The same code will be deployed on author instance. Where is that time? So that is lost. Okay. So we discussed that the code will be deployed on both author and publisher instance. Yes. Now the same code will be deployed, and consider that on author we want to execute some different code and on publisher we want to execute some different code. Okay. Now how will you achieve this thing? So by run modes, by the unique name that we gave to our instances. Okay. So here the unique name that I gave to my author instance was prod and prachi. And if I open my publisher instance, when I started my publisher instance during the startup, what was the unique name that I gave was Lokesh. So here This was the unique name that I gave to my publisher instance when the instance was getting started. Okay. Now these names have been assigned, like Lokesh has been a name that has been assigned to the publisher instance, and these two names, Prod and Prachi, have been assigned to my author instance. Now code is all same that will be deployed both on author and publisher instance. If you want to execute different set of code on your author, on your publisher instance, so you will use these names or these run modes to execute different set of code on author and publisher instance. Now, the requirement here is that in our code, let's say in our sample model, how will you identify that whether it's an author, that is, if it's a prod or prachi, or sorry, if it's a prod or prachi, or if it's a Lokesh, because these are the names that we have given to our instance. So Lokesh is a name that we have given to our publisher instance, and these are the two names that we have given to our author instance. So now in our code, we have to identify whether it's a prod or prachi, like any name, prod or prachi. I'm not saying and. Either, see, your name can be multiple. Your friends call you with a different name. Your family calls you with a different name. And of course, your original name may be different. So, yeah. So here, prod and prachi are two names. You can either call it with prod and either call it with prachi. Similarly, I gave the name as Lokesh over here. You can give any number of names to your instance. There is no limit on that. Okay, just put a comma and write whatever name you want. Now, the problem sits in our code now. The code part we have resolved that. From code level, how will we identify what is the name? Because see, the same code will run on our author and will run on our publisher. Now, how will we identify that the name is prod or prachi, or that the name is Lokesh? So, like this, we created our custom service in the same way AEM provides its out-of-box service that is called as Sling setting service. So this Sling setting service is an is an out-of service provided by AEM, which helps in identifying the run mode or the name of our instance. Okay, so like if I put public, okay, get run mode, and here I set Sling setting service dot get run modes. So here I will get all the okay. So through this way, what I did is, see, this what I used is inside this I used the get run mode. So this method, since any number of names can be assigned to your instance, so that is why it returns you a set, because there will be multiple. So let's do one thing. Let's try to say if run mode dot contains. So what were the names? Prod or prachi. Let's say if the run mode contains prod. Okay, then I will say I will return its prod, or you can say author instance, because author only be provided his name. Else we say return run mode dot. Okay. I don't know if toString will work. Okay, no, toString will not work. Okay, let me just remove say name does not match. Okay, simple. What I did is now in our code to identify what name or what run mode your current instance is running on. So here, say I said the run mode contains prod. So here I could have put or run mode contains Prachi, because these are the two different names that I assigned to my author instance. So here I said if the run mode contains prod or if the run mode contains Prachi. Here instead of or I could have also used and, because both these two names are our author instance name. So I said if run mode contains prod and run mode contains Prachi, it's prod pipeline Prachi, or you can say author instance. Else name does not match. Okay, let me deploy this code and you can ask me questions if you have doubts. Yeah, questions.
Yeah, I think let's run it and then we'll see.
Yeah. But did you understood the concept? What is the reason of using run modes and what is the concept behind using run modes?
Yeah, I think I'm matching it with the real case that like I have. Like sometimes I don't want to push any sort of like code in publisher or something. Just I want to have it on a staging.
Mhm.
Then yeah, there are some cases like this.
Yes. So if you do not want to execute, or if you want to execute a different code base on your publisher and different on author, or maybe on prod, you want to execute different set of code. So you can assign a name to your prod instance and assign a name to your lower instance, and then you can execute a different set of code on different instances based upon their run mode or on their name.
But just one thing that, like, say for like staging, that the whole AEM thing is, for example, is on like server, right? It's not in the local. So I need to assign this run mode name. Okay, so through the command, right? The command line.
Yeah, through
I need
command
to,
line, yes. Through
okay,
command line, you can provide in case if you want to provide a run mode or name as stage. So both author and publisher of that stage would have that name, stage as the name or UAT as the name. Okay. In command line, you can provide the name. So let's say if this is build. Oh, sorry, not this.
like I use like solar putty, like
Sorry, come again.
something fair, right?
Yeah, I'm just checking what is. Where did it fail inside core? What did it type?
Invalid return. Maybe okay.
Inside core. Okay, I think I made some. Core form.xml. What changes did I make? Just a minute. What is this issue? I'm just checking. Invalid return type plan job. What it is throwing. Oh, did I accidentally put something? Yeah. So you have some questions? Yeah, you can please ask.
Yeah, like I was telling, like because I use like Solar Putty to access the like server. So I need to go to the there's another.
Wait, what is this? This is the game. Okay. What is this? Just a minute. I don't know what is this issue. Just a minute.
Maybe the return type cannot be string for that.
No, but I'm returning string. Then I am returning string.
No, I mean like generally for this one.
No. It's a simple method. Let me just comment this. We will confirm that the issue is over here. Yeah, you were asking something.
Yeah. So I need to go to that Sterex startup and then give that run mode name, right?
Yes.
With the command. Okay.
Yeah. Over here.
Mm. Okay.
You saying something about logs?
No. This one.
Okay. So yes, from command line, you just like, let me just ping you this command. I will ping you over here. By using this parameter -d minus the Sling run mode, you can provide the run mode name. So basically you can call it as names. Let's see if our build is successful. Yeah, it's still failing. There is some other issue actually. I think it's in pom.xml, line 00. I think some code has been. Where is my course pom? There's no change in this. Invalid return type. I think it's over there. Where it is throwing exception. Invalid return types sample.co. Inside the pom, invalid return type.
Translation.
Come on.
Stating that no translation found for macro component group name.
That is just a
Oh, that's a
warning.
warning. Mhm.
Okay, just
Maybe try to update your Maven dependency.
yes, I can do that, but how it was? Okay, let's comment these two, I think. Okay, yeah, this is the issue. Yeah, it should be void actually. My bad. Okay, my bad. And over here, let's revert everything. Okay. And let's now see. I hope things. Okay. I hope things should work now. Okay, let me hide this. And let's see if our deployment is going good. Yes, it's going good now. Yeah, so that was the issue. Okay, yeah, it's success. And let me just refresh it back. Okay, and now what I will do is I will call so the name is again same. It's my model dot. What was the name of the method? It was
Full.
It was run mode.
Sorry.
And let's now, let me do a PR over here. And, yeah. And let's refresh the page. Yeah, you can see run mode, it's prod or prachi, or you can say author instance. So it went inside my if condition. Sorry, it went. Yeah. So it went inside my if condition because the run modes were both prod and prachi. Okay.
Yeah.
So you can execute different set of code for different instances. Like here I would have said if, else if run mode contains, what was the run mode for? Publish. It was Lokesh. That's what the name that I gave.
Yeah.
Over here. So the publish I gave the name as Lokesh. So here I could have said it's mine. It's mine publish instance. Okay.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yeah.
So we can give different names to different instances or same name to multiple instances. And through that way, like here I give the name as prod or prachi to my author instance, but the same name I could have given to my publisher instance.
And then
Okay.
the Lokesh will come up when you try to install the package to the publisher instance, right?
Yes. So if we will run the same code on publisher instance, then this else if will get
executed. Yeah.
Okay.
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 Right.
So this publisher will get executed. Okay. Now, few things regarding run modes, and then we will wrap up the session for today, and we'll wrap up with the run modes. These run modes that we provide by using this -d Sling run modes are custom run modes, and they can be added or removed at any time by just stopping and restarting the server. So what I mean is that I can stop my server now, and before I restart, I can update my startup script. And here, if I want to add any new name and remove any existing name, I can do that. So if you want to remove Prachi, and here, if you want to add your name or do anything with any current these run modes, you can do that. So any name can be added or removed just by, again, stopping and restarting the server. Then only it will take the change. Okay?
Yeah.
Next important thing, when you are giving the run modes or name to your instances, like you gave the name to author instance, these two, as I said, that these names can be added or removed anytime, but these were custom run modes that you created. But AEM internally also gives name to its instances. Okay, so it's an author instance. Since it's an author instance, so it by default it gets a name that is author, and you started as a publisher instance, so by default it get a name or run mode that is publisher. So now your publish instance not only has a name Lokesh, but it has two names, that is publish and Lokesh. Similarly, your author instance has three names, that is author, prod, and publish, prachi. Okay. Now, another important thing is here the custom names you can add or remove at any time, but not the AEM provided one. So since the name is author, you cannot change or you cannot give it a name publish. So that is not at all possible. Similarly, since it's a publish, and if you want to give it a name author, you cannot do it. So the way how you will give it a name, consider it's a publish. Of course, it's a publish instance. And now if you want to give it a name author, how will you give it a name author? By updating the name inside the jar. Like here, jar name you will update from publish to author. That's what you will do. Am I right?
Yes.
But never ever do this thing. If you will change the name of an author to publish, or from of publish to author, then your instance will get corrupted.
Yeah.
So never ever do this thing. Never ever change the run mode from author to publish and from publish to author. You can change, add, or like here the name run mode, custom run mode name is Lokesh. You can give this name over here as well to your author instance. Or you can remove, add, you can do anything with the custom run modes. That's not an issue with AEM. But the out of box names you cannot change. So here, the code that I had, I used, if it's a prod and it's a not contains Prachi. Here, what else I could have used?
It's author.
Yeah, author. And similarly over here, and or both can be used. That is publish. Okay. So run modes are basically to execute different set of code for different instances. And how would you identify those different instances? Is by giving them a unique name, that is run modes. So another thing, here you use -d Sling run modes is equal to another way is just use -r and start giving the name. Like you start giving your name. Sorry, I may can go wrong with your name spelling, like ABC or XYZ.
Yeah.
So it's up to you. Either you can use this. This is a bit informative. That's why I use this, because here you give that, okay, see, -d is used when you are passing some parameter. So when you are passing some parameter, the name of the parameter is this and the value is this. So if you want to use a shortcut, experts use shortcut, but to give it a proper informative way, use this. Or you can use -r, this as well. Any of these two ways you can use.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah. Okay.
Understood the concept of run modes? Why would you use it? How would you use it? And also in your code, to know your run mode name is, you have to use the out-of-box service, that is Sling setting services. So Sling setting services is a way out-of-box service provided by AEM that will help you in knowing what is the run mode of your instance. Okay?
Okay. Even the name of the class, also the instance, it should be setting service, right?
Sorry, name of
the instance of the Sling setting service that you created. You just created yourself, right?
Yes, it's a service. So I just use OSJ service, Sling setting service, and service. I didn't use the is equal to new Sling setting service to create a new thing, because it's a service. Out of box Adobe AEM service.
Okay. I mean the naming, right? The naming also should be exactly this one.
You
Or
mean
this yeah.
This name?
This name can be anything, right?
Yes, of course, it's an instance variable. You could have used A, B, C, D, anything. What? The same could have been over here.
Okay.
That's just an instance variable.
Yeah. Okay. Got it.